Hey everybody, welcome back to Revisiting the MCU series. Today we are talking about the reappearance, or the actual first appearance in the MCU of the God of Thunder, Thor, which came out in 2011. To be honest, I consider this the true beginning of the MCU, not to say that Iron Man 1 and 2 and even the Incredible Hulk weren't technically part of it, but this is where a lot of things started to get set in motion in terms of what would be happening in the future. It also had more appearances from other Avengers, including Hawkeye and a couple of others that kind of set things up in motion. So I consider this to be more of the true beginning versus anything else, but this is where things sort of get kick-started. It also happened to be the movie that was vastly different, at least in my opinion, from the rest of the MCU so far. It did obviously deal with a superhero, but we actually visit a completely different realm, a different world. We got to see a lot more CGI stuff. We weren't just on Earth. So there was a lot of interesting things that this movie introduced. And on top of that, this is probably one of the most interesting casts that wasn't in a Marvel team-up movie. It had tons of different stars, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's first talk about the God of Thunder himself, Chris Hemsworth. I really enjoyed his performance. He was cocky and arrogant when he needed to be, but after losing it all, his humble demeanor came across as a lot more genuine than similar movie performances. I wasn't a huge fan of the blonde eyebrows. I know why they did it and why they would later change this, but other than that, it didn't really have too much of an issue with his performance. Natalie Portman also plays a scientist and main love interest, Jane Foster, and to be totally honest, this could be any actress for me. How she is portrayed in this movie, at least to me, a straight white guy on the internet, is kind of demoralizing. Yes, she's a scientist, which is very progressive, but she also heavily swoons after Thor and basically becomes stupid arm candy around him. And that just isn't the kind of female archetypes I think Marvel should be shooting for, or even Natalie Portman, but that's just my opinion. Tom Hiddleston plays Loki, who is definitely a top 3 villain in the grand scheme of the MCU to date. I don't think he hits as hard in this movie as he does later, but being the God of Mischief has its perks. He can play both sides, and Hiddleston's performance is great, especially with his reveal of his true origins. There's also Anthony Hopkins, Kat Dennings, Stellan Skarsgård, Clark Gregg, Idris Elba, Jeremy Renner, who all do a great job in each of their characters, and I don't really have anything negative to say about them. They were all pretty well for the most part. Now when it comes to action and CG, things are good, but they don't quite stack so high. When there are action scenes, they're a lot of fun and very comic book-esque. The CG, however, doesn't always hold up, especially when the characters are on the Bifrost or in Asgard. And I don't think it's a fault of the times or the direction, but when you are creating a fully CG world, things can get kind of tough. The story, however, is actually kind of decent in terms of a first attempt at Thor and making him more relatable and not so much of a god. The directing is okay, but nothing special as it was done by Gilderoy Lockhart himself, Kenneth Branagh, though the amount of Dutch angle shots was a bit jarring after a while. Like, we get it, this isn't a typical Marvel movie, but there's a limit. Overall, I enjoyed Thor. I liked it in 2011, and I liked it now. I think that Thor gets the worst rap out of the big three of Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, but for this movie as a first attempt, it was pretty passable at a superhero movie. But I do want to hear what you guys think about Thor and where it ranks on your list. Did you like this movie? Did you not like it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos or continuation of this series as we go week by week introducing or talking about each Marvel movie in order of release, leading up to the epic finale where we rank them all from top to bottom, or bottom to top rather, worst to best. So you don't want to miss out on that, so ring the bell notification. Other than that, that's all I have for now on Thor. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.